glass, I got 3 sets of glasses I wear now, and next one, okay.
Oh, she's,
Yeah, she just pulled in.
Where's
Cody's here.
Cody's here, good. We'll wait for Cody then. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Cody, how are you?
Not bad. Just happened to be casually driving by to go get something to eat. And I see all the cars. I was like,
Good.
I'm missing something.
We're scheduled, I told Josh yesterday too, that we are scheduled, I think, for August, meeting first Wednesday of August, if I'm not mistaken. So that's what everybody remembers.
Sounds good.
All right, we're just about to start. Call the meeting to order. Minutes from the previous meeting. I had seen them. Julie made some additions to them. I was satisfied with them after that. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes from previous meeting?
I'll make the motion that we should approve the minutes from the last.
Yeah, can I have a second?
Second.
And can I have any further discussion, deletions, corrections? All those in favor of accepting them as written, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, second, Bo Payne's report.
Yeah, so I sent out a little tick sampling update that we've been doing for a really long time now. Everybody got a chance to look at that, hopefully. It's in the packet here that Jess put together. Really not too much surprising going on, unless you're a member of the public, and then you will absolutely not believe that there's any possibility that the number of ticks found on any given day this year could be less than last year, because as always in the spring, every year is the worst year ever for ticks for everybody. It's never been this bad ever before for all 9 years that I've been collecting these samples.
Right.
So despite that sentiment, as you'll see, the average number of ticks that we found this year was down a bit from last year, which was up a bit from the year before, so on and so forth. Really, the key takeaway, I think, in this bit of information is looking at the really 2020 to present. We anticipated that with the end of the 4-poster program, tick sampling would begin to track fairly similar to the tick sampling we'd been doing at Shonick Point, which was, for all intents and purposes, used as a control site during the 4-poster program, or deployment anyway. And that is in fact what we've seen here. We're not to the same level, meaning per site, the average number per site. The point tends to have more questing nymphs in most of our sampling efforts. That's probably primarily related to just vastly different environmental factors at the point compared to the rest of all of our sampling locations around the island. There's a lot of differences, obviously, between those two locations. But nonetheless, the tracking is sort of striking, I think, if you look over the past 5 years. So, any questions about that?
I think one thing that is of note is that since we did away with the 4 posters, that number of ticks are up, and I think that is to be expected. Okay, you would say it doesn't look like it's all that significant. If you just had this year, so it wasn't be that significant, but if you look at the last 3 years, they're all above that median line, okay, of where we were for averages. And I think that's to be expected, okay? I do think that there's no question that 4 posters kill ticks. Was it significant? Did it make a difference in disease? That was more important than actually the number of ticks that are actually out there at times. But this year, the number of ticks is down. And these were the, what do you call it? Lone Star nymphs, is that right? Right. Okay. Very good. Any more questions for Bo? Any issues? Okay. Number of doxycycline numbers, Bo also printed out for us.
Yeah, so that's information that you've collected
Right.
over the years. Specifically, the top chart is the number of doxy prescriptions filled
Correct.
through the Shelter Island Pharmacy. And then the lower chart there was one we started collecting later on for another drug that I'm not going to try to pronounce.
Right.
And that one, I believe
Oh, no.
that's the primarily prescribed for addressing babesiosis.
That's correct. That's correct. And again, this year doxycycline was up a little bit, not terribly compared to other years. But again, probably since and it's very hard to tell because don't forget, there was a couple of years in there that we had COVID where there was a lot more people on the island, a lot more people exercising, walking Mashamak, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these things have to be looked at carefully and discussed. And then again, I'm not 100% sure what we can do about them, except continue to educate people to protect themselves. Check yourself, check the kids, et cetera. And that seems to be where we're at right now with it. And we just keep that effort up. Questions? Okay. Good. Let's see. Moving on. Julia, educational report.
Yeah, actually, I emailed Jessica. Do you want to pull those pictures up? I took pictures from the school program that we did that was Wednesday, May 29th. So this is actually our third year running this program with the school. So we really appreciate Dr. Dolger letting us do that. So this year, Rebecca Kusa and one of her new assistants and myself, we went into grades 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. And this year we created whole new material, like totally different than we did in the last 2 years. Cody, your daughter, was in one of the classes. Yeah, she was actually very knowledgeable about.
She knows about ticks.
She was very enthusiastically raising her hand on a lot of the questions. So what we did was this year, Rebecca decided to focus on other wildlife that like to eat ticks. So she did, let's see, we did opossums, turkey, and quail. And what she did was she had like boxes of ticks, all different kinds of ticks, different sizes, big, small, adults, nymphs, whatever. And the kids had to scatter the ticks all around the auditorium. Can you go to this? Yeah, you'll see some of the pictures of the ticks on the ground. Yeah, so we had the kids litter the auditorium with all these ticks. And then what they had to do was they had to choose to be a quail, an opossum, or a turkey. And they wore gloves with Velcro, which had the other side of the Velcro. So as they went around, they'd have to try to pick up the ticks on the ground. And then we had teams. So the team that was able to pick up the most ticks won. And then they had a whole bunch of prizes and little toys that they could pick up at the end. I brought the tick costume, of course. That was usually a big hit, so I had that on. And it was great. Like the kids, I think this was more participatory. Like we just had kids up and moving around. It didn't get chaotic, and I think it was totally appropriate. And even the older group, I have to say, got involved. Sometimes the 4th to 6th graders tune out, but they were okay. So that's you can see some of the kids helping out. Actually, that's your daughter right there. Yeah. Okay, so Jessica, can you show the little carton? So that's like a turkey that had all the turkey gloves in it. And then there's the opossum and quail. And actually we had Officer Clark's son, Colton, was in the class too. So when we came to quails, he gave his own spiel about the quail release, and that was kind of fun too. So he's a very enthusiastic participant also. Anyway, and then so that was the one educational event that we did. And then at the last meeting, I think I summarized basically, we did a educational campaign on the town social media. We ran 4 ads. We ran 2 in the paper. One was a cartoon by Peter Wallner. The other one was just our typical, information about ticks. That whole campaign ended. It ran through. It was fine. We're now into archery. If you want to go ahead and show those pictures. So we started the town archery program. This year we did early. We did May, June. I'm still running it. Those are my 2 lovely assistants. That's my daughter, Regina, and that's Rosie Hanley. They're my assistants for the archery program. So that's the archery field you can see set up. You can go to the next one. So that was one of the students who won we have archery tournaments at the end of every month. And we have one winner from the younger group and a winner from from age 13 to 18 age group. And that was that was actually Corey Cass's daughter won one of the tournaments. You keep going. And these are some other winners. That's Sarah, who participated last year, Michaela Cronin, and can't think of the other.
It's a Sandwell kid, right?
Yeah, I can't think of it. Sorry, I apologize. I can't think of the student's name. But anyway, those are our winners from the second tournament. You keep going. And there's just like two of the students who participated. Bethany ordered some 3D animals just to make it more fun. So we have those. We put those up sometimes like for fun tournaments. So those were just two of the kids. That's actually Oscar Snook Rossi. And there's another one of our winners with Rosie. So the archery program is going really, really well. I have to say that the kids like really comment on the environment. Like they just really like being in the field. We've actually seen some deer run by, turkey this year. Other animals have come by. So I've just gotten a lot of comments from the kids that they really enjoy being outside. And as you know, we don't allow cell phones. Oh, that's Doug Sherrard. So Doug is also one of the certified instructors, so he has to earn his teaching,
Credit.
CCUs, whatever.
Right.
So I have him come in sometimes to co-teach so that he satisfies his,
Right.
just in case I ever get my head caught in a mechanical rice picker, Doug can take over for me. So anyway, so that Doug came to demo some stuff there for the kids.
Where is that?
That's on St. Gabe's Field.
St. Gabe's Field.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, and then he was very proud of his shooting there, so.
I thought we were storing the stuff over here in Fisk.
It's here, yeah,
Yeah, but
I
you-
pick it up every time I teach class. I put everything out and then I take everything down every time.
You storing at Fisk Field?
No,
No, no.
I bring it back to the to the Legion. It's stored
The
in
Legion,
the
the
back,
Legion.
yeah.
We
every-
were at Fisk
Yeah,
Field.
we
Oh,
break
I heard-
everything.
But when the baseball teams were coming in, later in the
Yeah,
summer.
we
had
did
a
have it
little
in
bit-
there for a little while, but now it's actually really great having it stored in here because everything's in one place and.
Right. And how do you get the students? How do you?
It's on the town website and she puts out an email blast and we have a grant from Suffolk County. So that's how we got all the extra materials. We got extra arrows. We got some, 3D animals to make it more fun. We got target covers, the powder I use to mark the lines, all that's covered. And the kids get to take it for free.
Do they allow it through the virtual backpack?
What's it?
I would assume there's a virtual backpack.
Yes,
Do they put it through there as well?
Yeah,
Through the
they
school?
sign up, no, they sign up through the town.
Oh,
the
I
town.
didn't know
Yeah.
if we get it through the virtual backpack or not. Oh, the school would allow it.
Actually, I don't know if they do. I'm not sure. I know what that is.
It's run through the town
Yeah,
rec
town
department.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they-
On the website.
That may be.
But Todd, actually, wait, Todd put it out to the student, to all the parents. It went out on a school email, I
Okay.
saw too.
Yeah,
He
so, all right,
piggybacked
yeah,
on that.
right.
Because
It
actually,
might
I
get
wrote
missed.
back to him and thanked him for doing that because he didn't have to, but he
Yeah,
sent it
no,
out.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. That was my point, I
And
guess.
correct me if I'm wrong, Billy, but it fills up in about 48 hours.
Well, this all filled with a waiting list, and
Right,
I did
right.
mix the second group because we had so many kids wanting to go in the first, and really you could have different ages, it's fine,
Right.
so, yeah. But it's like, we're having a lot of fun, it's great being outside.
And introducing some kids to.
Yeah, and they
Archery.
love it, they get build a lot of confidence, they're really excited to come, so.
Good.
And they love the tournaments, by the way, because they want to win. Yeah.
And anything else, Julia?
No, that's it, that was all for me.
Okay, we'll take that all as informational. Next on the agenda is mission statement. If you remember last month, I put out a brief thought on that mission statement. Okay, Julia put it out to everybody, since I have trouble reading and typing these days. And Cody made some excellent recommendations towards it. And Julia, you want to read what we have so far, and we can discuss it further if anybody thinks so.
Right, so the first draft that went out from Jim was, it says, to advise the Shelter Island Town Board in measures deemed socially and environmentally acceptable, as well as fiscally prudent in lowering and monitoring the deer and tick populations as low as possible in an effort to decrease the incidence of tick-borne diseases on Shelter Island. Then we got a first edit from Cody. She said, I think the statement reads weird with quote, lowering and quote, as low as possible. used back to back. I would recommend changing quote lowering to quote managing. I would also add quote maintaining to that list since the work doesn't end when we get as low as possible. Finally, I would change the word prudent to responsible.
And Cody, I just say, my kids think I'm weird too. Yeah, and I think that all those are good suggestions.
Thank you. I don't know, Scott, did you have
Scott,
any?
any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because there's no defined goals. So you want to kind of make it broad, enough to keep the committee going in that direction. But it's hard to word it without restricting or giving a false sense of purpose.
Right.
So I think I didn't see her. I didn't see Cody's changes in the one that I have. So I mean, maybe we should send it around or.
Well, we can
read
put
it
these
or
in and then
read
send
it.
it around again.
Yeah, we're
Send
meeting.
it around.
When does it have to
They
be?
are, I thought the changes were minor. I think they were
Yeah.
good.
I like it.
Okay, I think they talked one about maintaining, which is very good. Okay, I think some of it was grammatical that I would use, as low as possible, maybe twice in a row or something like that, but whatever. I thought the changes were pretty much the same. My point about doing that, if you remember the original mission statement talked about, getting tick numbers as low as, acceptable. Well, I don't know what acceptable is. Okay, and again, I don't think that we can define it, that we're gonna get them down to such a level or cut them in half like we try to do with the thing, because that's just so hard to do, and there's so many variables that go into it. No matter what you do, the environment changes, it's a wet summer, it's a cold winter, it's a no snow, all of these things come in, so I don't think, and I think it was important to recognize that our role as a committee is an advisory committee. And I think some committees have trouble understanding that, and I don't. Okay, I think we advise the town board and they can accept or, not accept our recommendations.
Right.
They have other variables that come in and that's, finances and who they talk to down at IGA, et cetera, et cetera. And they're the elected officials, but our role is, and that's mostly why I have this committee as what I consider the experts on the island, with the exception of myself, who's just a general old retired guy. But you guys are the experts on the island to get across what we want to do. And we're going to make a recommendation to the board. The board accepts or does not accept it, okay? And so that's why
I like the term manage because, but this also now still has acceptable. So what's acceptable to me may be different, what's acceptable to someone else.
Right, but the
So those are the
acceptable-
terms I think
Here, Scott, just read to me because again, I can't read anymore.
it says the town board and measures deemed socially and environmentally acceptable.
Well, see, I think that's not talking about numbers as much as socially acceptable is, do we call in the professional hunters or not, okay? Environmentally acceptable, do we spray everything or not? So I think I'm trying to talk about those terms as opposed to acceptable numbers, which is what I sort of interpreted the original mission statement as talking about. So that's the only thing, and if you have a better wording for it, I'm all ears.
Acceptable mean?
How about a socially acceptable and environmentally sound?
That's fine.
Something like that?
Yeah, I have
As
no,
opposed to
that's fine.
environmentally acceptable,
Right.
you know?
Right, that's fine. Yep, I like that.
Wait, can you say that again, Scott?
So socially acceptable and environmentally sound. So that's the
Right.
measures deemed socially acceptable and environmentally sound. As well as fiscally prudent in managing and monitoring the deer and tick populations.
Right, and then the rest of it the same.
And managing and monitoring, and where did maintaining come in? Managing, monitored and maintaining?
You would like to add, she wanted to add maintaining to the
Right.
list.
At
so
that point,
Yeah, because it doesn't end, like I said, the work doesn't end when we.
right, I get,
Okay, so-
Decrease.
In lowering and monitoring the deer and, no, lowering and monitoring and maintaining, The deer and tick
Yeah.
populations?
Right, managing, monitoring, and maintaining.
Somewhere before before
Lowering
deer and tick population, you gotta have
monitoring,
before the
and
population.
and maintaining.
Is it about deer populations?
Deer and tick populations.
tick.
So it would go,
Yeah,
it would go after monitoring.
Yeah.
so managing, comma, monitoring, comma, and
Maintaining.
maintaining. Right?
Yep.
So we'll send this around again.
Other thoughts, Scott?
Decrease the risk and incidence. I think risk is also, you can do that just by education. You
Right.
can reduce the risk.
Right.
Right? By behavioral changes, tick checks, things like that. So if you efforts to decrease the risk and incidence of tick-borne diseases on Shelter Island.
Okay. Do we need to send that around again to everybody and then bring it back next?
I think we
or can-
should see it.
Or can we just vote on it that would be, that's acceptable to us with the changes? That's how I would do it, okay? Unless people think that they want to let it go again another month.
No, I like what she added, what Scott
What Scott
added.
said.
So why don't we just read it again? Do you have, I saw you made changes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if I got everything. Let's see, to advise, yeah, see, it is difficult unless I see it printed out.
Are you in a rush? I mean,
Yeah,
what's the, there's
I'm in
no,
a rush at all.
so why don't
I was
you,
just
why
thinking
don't
if
you
I could
put it all together and then.
Bring it back next
Yeah.
month, okay?
There's not
And now,
any,
what
any,
is-
it's hard to.
Does that become
Disjointed.
a fait accompli if we do that, or does that have to go to the board to accept our mission statement? Or is it our mission statement and that's just it?
it goes to the board, but I mean, you guys will decide what, you know.
Okay.
And I can't imagine anybody.
Yeah, I don't either, okay.
Your mission statement, right?
Okay, so we'll put it together for next, we'll bring it back next month.
Yeah.
Again, as,
Yeah.
okay? Very good, we'll move on. What else was there? There was, doxycycline, which we already talked about a little bit. Old business, I don't think anything, there's the new business, and Scott had gotten our,
I have it,
You got
yeah,
that?
she put it up.
can you?
You guys have this, right?
Okay, yeah, I gave.
Pass it down.
Okay, and I want this to be, right now, since semi off the record, if that's possible, until we have some further understanding of it and thing. My concern is if you look at the incidence of Lyme disease on Shelter Island for 2022 and 2023, you have to get a light on it too here if I'm gonna see anything. There is a significant increase in the number. And so I'll let Scott speak to it a little bit, but it very well may be to how they collect that information now. Scott, you want to?
Sure. So in 2022, they changed the case definition for Lyme disease. Before we, the health departments, looked at the number of possible cases by blood results, and they investigated only a small portion of that. And then they created a number from that. So typically it was like 500 to 600 per year countywide. So in 2022, they made it that any positive blood test is found to be a Lyme disease case with no further investigation. So before they would want follow-up blood tests, they would actually talk to the patient to see if they had symptoms, all that. So to make it easy, and we weren't able to look at every case, thousands of cases. So that's why we did just a portion of it. So CDC changed definition, so they expected to see a huge increase in the number of Lyme cases nationally. And what we saw in Suffolk County was we went from 500 to 600 a year to 2,700 in 2022. So we saw this huge increase, and we would expect to see an increase in cases in all the townships in Suffolk County. Wouldn't, you would see that increase because now there was, it was true to the blood tests and the results. So, so it's not unexpected to see an increase in the number of Lyme cases on Shelter Island. And, probably that is the number that we've been seeing in years past. It's just because of the case definitions, we were restricted and that number was lower. But now I think moving forward since 2022 and onward, we're going to be able to really see, if there's any trends or things like that. Because before that, there were only a couple of cases and you really, 0 to 3 cases of any of the tick-borne illnesses, you don't really see a significant fluctuation.
Right.
You can't determine anything because it just teeters around 3,
Right.
Cases. But
Right, and my just concern is that if this gets out without a good explanation, and even with a good explanation, it'll read huge increase in Lyme disease on Shelter Island. And I don't think that's appropriate.
yes, that would be
Have
inaccurate.
you seen an increase in other towns?
Well, that's what I'm.
But yeah, so I didn't look, I only looked at, we look countywide, and I told you, we went
Right,
from
but see,
500
that's what
to
I'm talking about.
2,700, and we have, it's all on our website.
Right.
And we have an explanation basically explaining the changes in the case definition, and that's
Right.
why you have this huge increase. And
But the fact-
and CDC was worried about that in the state health department, and all the local health departments is worried about that being interpreted that, oh my gosh, now we have all these Lyme cases, when really we're just kind of normalizing the process.
Right, so, I mean, that's a good explanation, and, but again, I think what we'd like to do is bring it back next month, and maybe we'll just separate out up to 2021, okay, and then we'll start a new technique, okay, of gathering information, and not try to equate the two, or let them get blurred on what's actually happening
Right.
here. And the other thing is Josh has some other direct information about Shelter Island. So we can look at that with
Okay.
this and try to correlate, are we reading the same thing? Are the numbers looking pretty good? Do we have to gather all these numbers, or is one of them really defining what we do? So if Josh comes up for 2022 and 2023, that he has 22 cases and 23 cases, we know that Suffolk County is capturing most of that, or if he's got 15, some from Dr. Kelt and stuff like that. So if we get those numbers are close, we were correlating the two techniques that we're using. So I'm gonna bring this back next month, okay? I just don't want this necessarily as far as, you can put it down whatever you want, that, the numbers from Suffolk County are being reevaluated and correlated with Shelter Island numbers, something like that. But we'll look at it again next month, okay? Hopefully with Josh's information, okay?
Yep. And did you want me to look at other towns? to
It's
see?
just on the grounds that you almost did it by telling me that the Suffolk County has gone from whatever it was, 500 to 2,700. That sort of explains it, okay? So I don't even think you have to do
Okay.
that, okay? That just tells me that it has happened,
Yes.
okay? And it's all related to the same thing in every town, as opposed to Shelter Island either has a new abundance of ticks, which
Yeah.
doubt it, okay? Or the other option I thought about was maybe Josh is reporting more cases than, previously, or other doctors or whatever. So we had a change in doctors someplace pretty close to that time too. So as long as it's gone up significantly in other places, that tells me it's all a matter of technique.
Countywide, it's gone up.
Countywide, it's gone up, and that's all a matter of technique and counting technique.
Case
So I'm,
definition.
case collection, yeah. So I'm comfortable with that, okay?
Okay.
And we'll put that into the minutes next time and stuff
Okay.
like that. Okay? And anything else, any other questions about that? Okay, and then the next thing, I think that was it. Anybody else has any new business? Anything else?
Just a question, so
Yeah.
we're gonna participate again in the Green Expo?
Yeah,
So, 'cause that's
what do you call it? Tim has not contacted me yet, but I always say yes, okay?
That'll be after, that'll be after our next.
After our next meeting, yeah, so, but I will say yes, and you and I will probably be the ones there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Doc, you have a question online?
Okay, who's online? I can't see it.
Elise Horning.
Hi, good morning, guys. Elise Horning. I had a question, if you don't mind. I'm new to this meeting, but recently I was in the backyard of my house and found a mosquito and tick spraying company on my front lawn, aggressively pouring their poison on my lawn. In any event, it was a mistake. They weren't supposed to be there. But my question to you is, do you endorse or scrutinize tick and mosquito spraying companies that come on the island?
I don't, and again, others people can speak to this. We don't endorse or condemn them, okay? Tick spraying, I'm not gonna talk about mosquito spraying, and Bo knows a little bit more about this. Tick spraying does work, okay? The caveats with that, it kills ticks, but it also kills, mosquitoes, but it also kills grasshoppers and bees and everything else if not done well.
Right.
It does kill ticks. It probably does have an effect on tick-borne disease. But well-maintained grass, well-manicured grass is not good habitat for ticks. All right, ticks are in leaf litter, heavy grass, weeds, stuff like that. So if your grass is well-maintained, cut short during the summer, it gets hot, the ticks desiccate or dry out. So my opinion is that it is, I don't use it. I'll just leave it at that. It's sort of a personal thing. We do not condemn it. We do not do it. Other people's thoughts on that?
No, we don't have any regulations.
My recommendation would be to read the committee's position on various strategies as outlined in the, I believe it was simplified tick control strategies.
Right, it's on our
It's on
website.
the website, it's also available in town hall here. And that sort of outlines the committee's official position on various strategies to take based on sort of your level of concern and the size of a property. But formally, the committee does not have anything to do with vetting or any of that sort of thing with regard to pesticide applicators. That's all organized or overseen by the DEC. And then I'm not 100% sure, but I believe as a contractor operating on the island, they may be subject to the appropriate licensing provisions. So that would be something I would maybe point you towards the building department to make sure that that particular contractor was at least up to snuff with that.
So my original concern was water. My well is on the front lawn, and so I didn't want that poison permeating down. So I had gone to the water advisory committee and I'd emailed Peter and got some information from him. But yeah, I do it all naturally. I have a half acre. I use plants. Everything's well maintained. But I was just concerned and wondering if you were overseeing anything like that. So
I think Scott has done a study on it, getting to the water. Scott, was that you or somebody had done it? And
Yeah.
the fact of the matter, they tested multiple wells in Suffolk County, including Shelter Island. And Scott will speak
Yeah.
after I, but to my best of my knowledge, there's been no evidence of permethrin in the water. It breaks down very quickly in the top couple centimeters of.
Or it binds to the soil,
Or
so it
binds to
doesn't,
the
it doesn't get into the aquifer. So, yeah, most of the products, as long as the applicators are using the whatever pesticide they are using, but as long as they're applying it according to the label, that there shouldn't be any issues. But the pesticides typically will bind to the soils and begin to break down so they don't get into the aquifer.
okay, well, I have a water test scheduled soon, so that would be helpful just to know that. But yeah, I appreciate the information, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're quite welcome.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? I didn't even notice anybody online.
This is Julie.
Yeah. Okay, there being nothing else, I ask for a motion to dismiss, to terminate this meeting, and we'll call it. All right,
I'll second.
thank you. And meeting's called.